Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and in this lesson we're going to learn about how to play Prelude in C minor BWV 999 by J.S. Bach with maximum artistry. Let's get started by checking out the score. Remember that J.S. Bach lived in the Baroque era, and these dates help remind us of that. In the Baroque era, there's certain stylistic things we want to remember. For example, it's very rare to use the damper pedal when playing Baroque music. For this piece, don't even think about touching the damper pedal. You won't need it, and it won't make it sound appropriate for the Baroque style that Bach was writing in. Also, remember that in the Baroque era, composers very rarely put dynamic markings in their music. And so these dynamic markings that you see in Baroque pieces are there not from Bach, but from the editor. In this case, me. I added these dynamics just to give you some ideas. But don't treat them sacred or religious. It's just an idea. And if you have another idea for dynamics that you think makes the music speak to you, go for it. These are ideas I'd like you to try, but remember, those are from me, not from Bach. Also, Baroque composers very rarely put phrase marks or things like little crescendos and decrescendos, but I encourage you to add your own phrases and dynamics along the way, even if it's not shown in the music by me. You know, it's very tedious as an editor to go through and show every little place you might want to do a little crescendo or decrescendo. But as a performer, you should be doing those things. We can turn this little group of 16th notes into a little interesting phrase with some shape to it. We don't want to play all 7 of these 16th notes the same. That would get boring. So give it a shape. See, it can get a little louder in the middle, then a little softer at the end. That sounds much more interesting than with every note the same, gets so boring. So even if the music doesn't say to do it, add shape to your music. It should always be coming or going, rising or falling. Music is communication, so give it an interesting shape as you play. One way to help give it shape is to think about which hand has the most important part at the moment. Like here in beats 1 and 2, the left hand plays this C and then rests. So that doesn't seem that interesting to me, so I'm going to bring the right hand out a little bit more here. But then let's look at beat 3. Now the right hand just goes C, C with a couple of rests. That now seems very boring to me, and this seems a little more interesting down here. So I might kind of bring out these notes more in that part of the measure and bring these notes out more in the first part of the measure. So right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand. And see, in this part, I'm going to make those right hand notes really soft. So my left hand can get the spotlight right there. See that? If I play those C's loudly, that sounds kind of ugly to me. Listen to the ugly way. See, that just sounds like someone being annoying, tapping on your shoulder. Okay, we want those C's to be gentle, so the left hand can have the spotlight there. Bring out the right hand, then soft right hand and stronger left hand. Takes a lot of practice, so maybe slow motion at first. Right hand, left hand. Right hand, left hand's turn. And when the left hand has the turn, get the right hand out of the way. Super soft. Pianissimo in the right hand when you play these notes. Think of them almost like parentheses, like barely important now at all. Another place I want to look at is down here. Starting in measure 7, the left hand starts to do something that I find pretty interesting. We've been on this C a lot. Look, in measure 1, we play a C on beat 1, a C, a C, a C, a C. We call this a pedal tone, where we have just one bass note that just sustains for many measures. Another C, and now finally, Bach gives us a B flat. See, we've got this C, then bum, bum, B flat, then bum bum A flat, then bum bum G, then bum bum F sharp. Now let's just look at the notes I've circled and look for the pattern with me. Actually, let's circle this C as well, because this is kind of where the pattern begins. We start on this C, B flat, A flat, G, F. What do you notice? Bach has just created this stepping down pattern, but spread out over 5 different measures with these other notes in between. But if you as a performer notice that pattern, you can help the listener recognize what's happening here and feel the excitement of how Bach is taking us on a little journey. Lower, lower, lowest. And so feel like we really arrive somewhere there. Because look, then he repeats the F sharp. And so this is kind of an arrival point. And this is why I, as the editor, added this crescendo poco a poco, which means get louder gradually, a little at a time. Poco a poco means little by little. So I want to feel like something exciting is building up. Every time you go down to a new low note, make a little bit more drama come into your playing and help the listener feel the intensity growing as it gets lower, lower, lowest. Okay? Listen one more time there. B flat. Here I'm bringing out, trying to really bring out the left hand there. Another unique thing about Baroque era music is the composers almost never put in articulation choices as well, like staccatos or slurs. And so I've heard this interpreted many different ways, and they're all okay, possible choices. You can play all the right hand notes staccato. That's one way you could interpret this. You could play them legato. You can actually mix it up. I've heard people interpret Baroque pieces by doing some staccato and some legato. Like we could do staccato on beat 1 on those first 3 notes of the right hand, and then legato on beat 2. Let's see. See, I do staccato and then legato, da 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 da, staccato, then smooth. That sounds kind of fun. But my favorite is actually somewhere in between. I'm doing a mostly legato, but a very crisp sounding legato, not too mushy sounding. Legato has different degrees, okay? I like a nice crisp sound, and then here in the left hand, I like a slightly detached sound. So it's not staccato, that sounds too militant and robotic to me. But also, legato doesn't have quite enough energy for me. So I'll do legato in the right hand, but a very clean legato, and then a detached left hand on these descending triad patterns. Can you try this with me? Take your left hand and just a little bit of separation in between each note without making it staccato. It's just called detached. I've heard it called portato. But I like to think of it as detached, because it's just like you're giving a little bit of daylight in between each note to make it speak. See, I could do that legato. What I was doing just then was detached, but listen to it legato. Has a very different sound, right? Sounds to me a little too mellow. I like the intensity of that detached. It just gives it a little edge that I really like. But that's how I interpret it. And I want you to experiment on your own. In fact, pause the video right now, and I want you to try 3 different ways. You can try all staccato, try all legato, try maybe mixing it up a little bit. Try some detached. maybe in the left hand. Maybe you like how I interpret it and you want to copy that. That's okay. Great artists copy each other all the time. Okay, I can't copyright playing detached. All right, feel free to use exactly how I interpret it, but also feel free to experiment and make it your own too. So I'd like you to pause and just work on these first two lines and try to find a sound for the articulations that you really like, and then press play to go on. So as I mentioned, I really like this detached sound in the left hand with a mostly legato right hand. And then I like to surprise the listener by occasionally changing that in key places. For me, when I get down to the bottom of page 1, there's kind of this transition I feel going on to page 2 from this F sharp, D, down to G. Bach shifts the tonal center here to G minor. Okay, hear that? And when he does that, I want to change the mood a little bit. So here I like to turn my left hand legato here to kind of mellow out the mood a little bit. So let me play for you starting at measure 7, how I like to do it. So here I've got detached left hand still. Here I separate that a little bit, get a crescendo. Now notice here, I change the mood there. Hear how that changes the mood to suddenly make this legato in the left hand? And then once I make it to measure 17, I go back to detached. Because I want to start to bring back that intensity as I start this crescendo. Because to me that crescendo is really important. I want to use a lot of arm weight as I'm playing those eighth notes. Rest, bum, 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 rest. Think of drop, drop, boom, and drop, drop, boom on that E flat. That note is so important to me because it really surprises the listener. We've been having all these Ds, 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 and then E flat. It's a really great moment. As I've pointed out, in the left hand, don't stretch between these notes. Think of just shifting your hand where it needs to go. So your hand always has that relaxed, again, using the arm weight to get the forte, not your fingers. Your fingers don't create the forte. It's your arm and body are going to help you make that forte. Rest. 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 Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and work on your left hand alone, starting in measure 18 at this piano. And then work on a good crescendo using good arm shifts. You're just using your arm to shift your hand to where it needs to go. And let the arm weight help you build up to a great forte, and then press play to go on. So here's my build-up starting in measure 18. I'm going to start very soft. Start to build it up. And then we get onto page 3. And don't lose the energy. This whole section can stay quite strong and energetic. And here's where I start to feel the energy coming down a little bit. It comes back up a little bit. But now we're starting to wind down a little bit. The really interesting thing to me about this piece is the chord we end on. We're supposed to be in the key of C minor, right? Why does Bach end on a G major chord? What is G major in the key of C minor? G major is our 5 chord using the harmonic minor. It's rare to end a piece on the 5 chord. And it makes me and other music scholars wonder, was there a piece that was supposed to come after this? Bach sometimes had preludes paired with other pieces like fugues that might have come after. It feels like Bach is setting something up to come next in the key of C minor. Because again, it's so rare to end on a 5 chord that really wants to take us back to some 1 chord in C minor. Well, we don't have the piece, it's missing. Some of Bach's music is just lost to the ages. But if you'd like to improvise or compose something to come after this in the key of C minor, might be fun to try. Totally up to you. It's an optional challenge. So this week, as you continue to practice and refine all the notes, now I'd like you to add in artistic elements to Prelude in C minor. Some of the things we've talked about were dynamics, articulation, adding in staccato or detached or legato, and then also be thinking about voicing. Where the places the right hand is most important in the measure, where the places the left hand is most important. Remember, on beats 1 and 2, the right hand's going to sing out a little bit, and then on beat 3, the left hand's going to take over and sing out on those moving eighth notes. Most of all, try to tell an exciting story. Build up to this great climax at the bottom of page 2, and then let it gradually unwind on page 3. Great work today learning how to play Prelude in C minor with Artistry. Once you have this piece confident, memorized, and with your best artistry, I hope you'll share it with a friend or family member, or with me and the Hoffman Academy community online. Thanks for watching and learning with me, and happy practicing.
Hey, I got a good one for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
How much did the store sell dead batteries for?
I don't know.
Nothing. They were free of charge.
You know, I find that kind of joke revolting.
Yeah, I suppose this joke does have both a positive side and a negative side.
No shock there.